Unpacking My Library, a talk about book collecting. By Walter Benjamin. Walter Benjamin. Walter Bendix Schonflies Benjamin, a German Jewish philosopher, cultural critic, and essayist, was born on July 15, 1892 in Berlin. Studied at Kaiser Friedrich School and then in the University of Freiburg and University of Berlin. Elected as the president of Freie Studentenschaft, Free Students Association. He wrote essays arguing for educational and general cultural change. In 1923 he published Charles Baudelaire, and Tableaux Parisiens. Influenced by Theodor Adorno and George Lucas. In 1932, during the turmoil preceding Adolf Hitler's assumption of the office Chancellor of Germany, Benjamin left Germany. In 1940 Benjamin committed suicide at Portbou on the French-Spanish border while attempting to escape from the invading Wehrmacht. Unpacking My Library, a talk about book collecting. First published in 1931, one among the most personal and informal essays in Illuminations. Benjamin spent much money on books, and his love for books is referred by him as Bibliomania. While writing this essay, he concluded divorce from his wife Dora and so left his Berlin-Grunewald residence, to his own apartment. While shifting he owned roughly 2,000 books which he bought. In the lecture-turned-essay, he discusses the act of collecting through a characterization of the collector. Narrates the experience of pulling his personal library out of the crates in which they had been inaccessibly stored for 2 years. Summary. The writer takes a serious if not humorous look at the act of collecting and the relationship between the collector and his or her possessions. Got inspiration from the act of unpacking his library after its 2-year storage. Sets the scene not by describing orderly rows of books but talks about the disarray of storage. He states that collecting is an intensely personal business. Collections are worthless unless those who do the collecting see some attachment to the objects. The collector's passion borders on the chaos of memories and is accustomed by the confusion of the books collected. The collector is often confused with the dialectical tension between the poles of disorder and order. The collector's existence is tied to many other things such as the ownership, functional and utilitarian values, etc. The memories of the past and his thoughts become the part of the collector's possessions, and he becomes an interpreter of the same. As he holds the collections in his hands, he seems to be seeing the past as though he is inspired of. He says that the acquisition of the copies of old books such as the Divine Comedy, Spinoza's Ethics, and The Origin of Species is its rebirth. For children, collecting means a process of renewal, but the collector's deepest desire is to acquire new things. He gives a whimsical definition of a writer as a writer starts writing not because he is poor but because he is dissatisfied with the books which he could buy and do not like. The customary acquisition is borrowing book and non-returning. The book borrower really fails to read the book as he is concerned much on returning the book. The writer says that his library consisted of only 2 or 3 shelves which increased only by inches each year. He is very much concerned that only those books he read will be placed in his own library. He recollects how he sent his first order to get the irreplaceable items such as Der Blaue Reiter and Sage von Tonnenquil. The purchase done by a book collector has very little in common with that done by a student in a bookshop. The writer has made memorable purchase on trips and from the dealers. He recollects the purchase of a children's book with fairy tales by Albert Ludwig Grimm. While purchasing a book, one must note the date, place names, formats, previous owners, and bindings in order to recognize whether a book is for him or not. A collector, when participating in an auction, have to concentrate on the relevance of the book and also the competitor. The most excited experience happened to the author in 1915. Roman auction put up by Émile Hirsch and possessing the Balzac's Peau de Chagrin to be placed in the rows of his French volumes. He states more examples of getting books from such book auctions. The real happiness of a collector is to make a book free from bondage. He will provide the true freedom for all books in his shelves. A collector's attitude towards his possessions stems from an owner's feeling of responsibility towards his property. A collection will lose its meaning while it loses its personal owner. The narrator states the memories from his childhood itself where the books were hosted. His memories of the cities like Riga, Naples, Munich, Danzig, Moscow, Florence, Paris, and some houses of his friends add happiness to him. He says that a real collector has the most intimate relationship one can have to other objects, which makes him to live in them. The writer describes the re-encountering of familiar texts through his autobiographical journey that led him to expose a real library. The mentality and personality of the collector is well exposed. This essay provides the evidence that Benjamin was a fervent bibliophile, and for him books and their acquisition assumed quasi-magical properties. For more videos, like, share, subscribe. Thank you.